I'm Lade Smith. In 1995, when I was a registrar, a woman, Theresa, was brought into the psychiatric emergency clinic from the local general hospital A&E. She'd been taken there having been found collapsed in the street. The casualty officer reviewed her notes and saw that she had a diagnosis of schizophrenia. She was unresponsive. He wrote, schizophrenic, unresponsive, diagnosis, catatonia, and sent her to us. There was no physical examination or investigations. I was called urgently to see her, and when I arrived, she was on a stretcher. She'd arrested, and myself and a colleague resuscitated her, intubated her, and sent her right back to the general hospital across the road. This time round, she was examined. An investigation revealed that she had a haemoglobin of 3.9 grams per decilitre, far lower than the usual 11 to 15. She'd been bleeding for some time, and she was transfused 12 litres over the next 24 hours. But unfortunately, she went into heart failure, and she died a day later. Theresa was 36 years of age. It struck me then that there's a fundamental problem. People with mental illness are stigmatised and not considered worthy of good care. Theresa was not even given a cursory examination. The casualty officer didn't bother to contact the psychiatrist to refer, just sent her over, as if to say, deal with your own. I decided then and there that our patients are the most vulnerable and marginalised, and unless we as psychiatrists are able to advocate for them, mental health care will never improve. In my 30 years as a psychiatrist, I've been a researcher, educator, congress organiser, policymaker and manager, but always a clinician and always with that patient at the back of my mind. I'm a clinical director of my NHS service and clinical and strategic director of the National Collaborating Centre for Mental Health. In all my roles, I've strived to enhance psychiatry and advocate for patients. I haven't just highlighted the problems, I've actually designed, developed, argued for and implemented services and systems that make a difference. Physical health clinics, community mental health transformation, meaningful yet realistic Mental Health Act reform, the mental health equality strategy, a systematic approach to bed management that has clinical care at its heart. In 2019, I was awarded a CBE for my service to psychiatry, and I was honoured to be voted Psychiatrist of the Year by the Royal College. But for me, becoming your president is the most important role I can take on, supporting psychiatrists so you can support mental health services. After all, psychiatrists are the backbone of our mental health system, and a better experience for you will lead to a better experience for patients. Psychiatry is facing unprecedented challenge. The pandemic, increased demand, chronic resource deficits and workforce shortages weigh heavily on our shoulders. However, with this unprecedented challenge comes unprecedented opportunity. I think I speak for all of us when I say I can't remember a time when mental health has been discussed so much by so many across the world. We must capitalise on this. I'm running for president because strong leadership is needed to fight for resources, so as psychiatrists we can deliver the quality, person-centred, equitable and therapeutic care that we were trained to do. We must address the treatment gap. There is a clinical care gap. In the UK, £12 billion a year is spent on mental health. Yes, it costs the UK £112 billion per year. In Australia, it's estimated that mental ill health costs 10% of GDP. Similar findings are seen across the world in high income as well as low and middle income countries. Psychiatrists look after people with chronic, relapsing, remitting conditions, and 75% of which arise before the age of 25. So failing to properly resource mental health care is just a false economy. The gap between those who need mental health care and those who get it has increased over the past few years, particularly as a result of the pandemic. Now, this has been exacerbated by the chronic underfunding of mental health care and must be tackled urgently. We have the evidence to make the case. I will campaign for resources by partnering with key organisations and showing that investing in mental health care is cost effective, saves lives and enhances the economy. I grew up in the north of England. I've worked both there and down south, and I've seen enormous regional disparities where the areas that most need resources just don't get them. This is not fair and it's not right. Our care models must be designed to meet the needs of local populations in all our nations, using data-driven resource allocation. We must invest in community services and have an adequate number of beds. We need whole system approaches with social care and housing investment. I will campaign for mental health care to have parity with physical health care. I was involved in developing the College Engagement Network, and I'll champion and support psychiatrists to work with the commissioning boards across the 4 nations to influence commissioning, as well as lobbying central government for greater resources to meet mental health demand and provide proportionate recompense for the work that psychiatrists do. In addition to the clinical and economic benefits of relapse prevention, it also reduces carbon footprint, and this is an imperative, and it will be a guiding principle for all the work we do at the college. The way we practice psychiatry must take into account the changing nature of the world. We must nurture and support our workforce. It's not enough to recruit, we must retain. As a college, we must put our members first. Psychiatrists must be valued and protected. We want to provide the best for our patients, something we can only do if the conditions in which we work allow us to do so. I'll ensure that all psychiatrists feel valued and supported by the college to achieve their potential as a psychiatrist, which means ensuring that the college introduces a regular programme of engagement and consultation. There'll be regional hubs and far more international collaboration. There'll be international Royal College of Psychiatrists conferences and more international training. There'll be twice yearly big debates where members will get the opportunity to discuss key issues affecting psychiatrists. Decision making will be more transparent. Ordinary members will have more of a say. Working psychiatrists must regain job satisfaction, which will in turn will encourage recruitment. I'll improve working conditions via the college job approval process. So for a job to be approved, a psychiatrist must have an office, appropriate admin support, IT and sensible caseloads. I'll support psychiatrists to sustain their roles. I'll advocate for proportionate pay for trainees, pension tax relief for senior doctors, accessible exams in CPD. I'll support portfolio careers for mid-career consultants and SAS doctors, provide comprehensive support for colleagues working beyond retirement, and support flexible working for part-time doctors. No one will be left out. The very best psychiatrists are excellent at general psychiatry, and this is the bedrock of other psychiatric specialties. General psychiatry must become a prestige specialty and then be preserved. I'll set up a task force aimed at supporting the development of general adult and community psychiatry roles. Psychiatric specialties must be supported too. The removal of psychiatrists from addiction services in England has been associated with an increase in mortality rates. This is not the same in Scotland, where the role of psychiatry in addiction services has been preserved. Medical psychotherapy provides psychodynamic and relational understanding, which supports formulation, better understanding of individuals and team dynamics. The college must support specialist services to ensure they can thrive. I will not let psychiatric specialties wither on the vine. We must raise the profile of psychiatry. There's significant variation in the availability of psychiatrists in the UK. This limits the ability of trainees to become the type of psychiatrist they wish to be, and also limits the types of services available in certain areas, resulting ultimately in patients having to travel out of area for treatment, with all the negative impact this can have on their longer-term outcomes. This also probably diminishes the importance of psychiatry in the eyes of the public as well as the commissioners. To combat this, I will argue for an increase in training places and distribute them more equitably across the country. We must champion research. It enhances clinical care and improves outcomes. Mental health research has lagged behind many other areas of medical research in terms of priority, in terms of funding, and therefore discoveries. This means that improvements in prevention and care are progressing far too slowly. The college is uniquely placed to support the development of academic psychiatrists and support all psychiatrists to feel confident in using an evidence-based biopsychosocial approach. I'll support and develop academic research hubs across the country to ensure wherever you are, you'll be able to access good basic research training to support your clinical work and develop your research career if you wish to pursue academic psychiatry. Psychiatry has changed enormously over the past 50 years. We should be celebrating the improvements that have been made, as well as recognising the work that's still to be done. Psychiatrists understand the complex interplay between neuroscience, epidemiology, social determinants and emotional interaction. Whether you are a clinician, academic, manager, teacher or policymaker, we are a noble profession. There must be fairness for all. Psychiatrists understand that inequality leads to illness, impairment, and poorer outcomes. Health inequality is one of the main drivers of psychiatric illness. For moral, ethical, clinical, and economic reasons, it's imperative that we address health inequality, and the Royal College should continue to take a lead in combating this. I've been at the forefront of this work and will continue to strive to reduce health inequality and support and develop guidance to enable all psychiatrists to do this as well. Access, experience, and outcomes must be improved for all patients. For doctors, women, LGBTQ+ doctors from minoritized ethnic groups, and those with disabilities are too often not adequately supported to thrive as psychiatrists. I'll continue to work to close the gender pay gap and eliminate sexual harassment from the workplace. I'll develop guidance to support international medical graduates and minority ethnic doctors to excel in examinations and progress in their careers. I'll continue the work on tackling racism and discrimination, including Islamophobia and anti-Semitism in the workplace, and I'll work with the GMC, hospital trusts, and psychiatrists to reduce referrals of ethnic minority doctors to the GMC. I'll strive to reduce discrimination against all doctors in the workplace, and in particular, for doctors with any type of disability, I'll ensure that they are given the reasonable adjustments so they can thrive. Finally, I will nurture and support psychiatrists so you can thrive in your work. I'll address mental health inequality and the treatment gap. I will raise the profile of psychiatry for the public, for patients, and for psychiatrists. As your president, I'll support you so that you can support our services. Thank you.